Okay. While I pass this out, do you, these two rows want to get the books? Go ahead, that's. Okay. What we're going to do here, I believe, I posted on the page. 175. 175. You all good? Yeah, so we're going to go over a little bit. The page right here breaks down portion by portion. We're going to go over each portion. I'll explain it, make references now I found, and then I'll call out to you guys and we'll answer the questions. Cool. The questions are also like word for word in your book, if you feel like just reading ahead. Okay. So, we're first talking about the Greeks and how they began. The primary thing, like the first bit of this talks about the geography, plus the map. I didn't like the map in your book all that much because it doesn't have any of the mountains on it. And mountains are going to be kind of important, a little bit important. And so the first part of this, the first Greeks came to this area right here called the Balkan Peninsula. It's got a ton of mountains and a ton of rivers. And they kind of settled along this area. And they haven't founded much of these cities yet, so mentally ignore those. But they're on the Balkan Peninsula. They're also called on the Anatolian Peninsula over here. And that's Europe, that's Asia. So they kind of are in the middle of that. They really only settled, it's hard to live in a mountain, obviously. They really only lived in like the valleys between. Those are the only parts that were like fertile, you could grow food there. And I think that's everything in the first section. So number one, here's the first civilization developed in blank and blank. Yeah, sorry. Yep, Europe, and then the very, very, very west tip of Asia. Greece is an area, or sorry, oh wait. Number two, Greece is in an area by blank and blank. One second. Yeah, it's right here. You got that. Europe and Western Asia. Very Western Asia. And for number two, they were by mountains and seas right here. There's seas between all these little tiny islands, and then obviously mountains everywhere else. Number three, the Greek mainland is on the blank peninsula. and to the east is the other flank, and it splits right in between them. Yeah, what's up? Yeah, Balkan. They're right on the Balkan Peninsula.
How do you spell that? You guys should follow in the book.
Balkan.
Sorry, I keep. I'll just shout things out
You're
because I
good.
forget that I'm not the one teaching.
You're good.
It's in the book, guys. Follow along.
Yeah, so the Greek mainland over here, that's the Balkan Peninsula. And then right next to the Balkan Peninsula, it says, what's this one? Yeah.
Anatolia.
Yes, Anatolia. Also, they called it Asia Minor at this time. But yes, the book calls it Anatolia. This is Asia Minor, small Asia.
And then in the middle is the Aegean Sea.
Yeah, in the middle is the Aegean Sea with all these tiny little islands. They become pretty good at sailing because literally all you have are mountains and islands. You're going to be pretty good at navigating the sea. And the fourth one, where did Greek farmers grew blank? Yeah, what's up?
Wheat, barley, olives, and grapes.
Wheat, barley, olives, and grapes. So we get olive oil. It's very famous in this area. Nice wine comes from this area. Ready to move on? Forward. Okay, so the first civilization that started over here was on this island right here. This is the least mountainous part of the whole. This island right here called Crete. People called the Minoans founded that little civilization there. It lasted for about 1,000 years, between 2,500 BC to 1,450 BC. And because, right, first civilization's here, and they begin to populate all these tiny little islands, like I said, they become really, really good at sailing. They become really good at navigating the water. But eventually, the Minoans over here, they're gonna have a series of bad luck. And this whole area, this will become a thing, the whole area is really prone to earthquakes. A lot of earthquakes happen up here. And so, the Minoans have a few massive earthquakes that kind of flood their whole city and kill a lot of them. And then after that, we don't talk about the Minoans anymore. So, number 5, the earliest civilization developed on the island of Crete. C-R-E-T-E. The people called, what were the people called? Their civilization lasted from what date to what date? Yeah, Milo, what's up?
The 6 starts with Minoans, and then 2,500 BC to
1,450. Yeah, about 1,000 years. A little over. Yeah, Jason.
The civilization collapsed in 1450 BC.
Yep, their whole civilization collapsed because of a bunch of bad earthquakes and a lot of flooding. Yeah. Number 6, the people called the Minoans, and their civilization lasted from 2,500 to 1,450. This is all BC for us. Okay. After the Minoans, they all have their earthquakes, they collapse. A group coming from way off the map over here in Central Asia, they move in and begin kind of conquering. They're kind of conquering this whole area, right? Taking over everything. They come in, they're called the Mycenaeans. They create this city right here, Mycenae, that's where they get their name. And they conquered it, and they controlled the entire region. And do you guys know like the Trojan horse?
Yeah.
Trojan War? This is them. That was part of them slowly conquering this area. Massive horse, people got out, the other one side. Troy was burned, destroyed. Yeah, so that's part of the Minoans. No, this is part of the Mycenaeans. I just lied to you. Part of the Mycenaeans. They come and control this whole area for about 300 years. So number 8, the blank came from Central Asia. Mycenaeans came from Central Asia. If you don't know how to spell that, it's literally in number 9. Number 9, in the middle of the 1400s, so right as the Minoans are falling apart, the Mycenaeans conquered the, yeah, what's up? Conquer the what? I couldn't hear you.
Minoans.
Yep. Minoans, the first one. And they control the whole of the Yep. Yeah, they controlled this whole area, the whole area around the Aegean Sea. They had all these islands. They had a little bit over here. So they kind of came in and just conquered the whole place. Ready to keep going? Cool. And so for about 300 years, things were pretty chill. The Mycenaeans, they weren't all that bad, guys. And around 1100, the Mycenaeans died out because they were doing a lot of wars between each other. Right, all the different kingdoms kept just warring, and obviously that kills a lot of people. And a famed Greek staple, a lot of earthquakes. It just keeps coming up that there's a lot of earthquakes that destroy this whole region. It happens a lot today. So yeah, they died out because of a lot of wars, a lot of earthquakes.
And I'm gonna interrupt just for a second, because that's by 2 tectonic plates. So we learned this earlier this year. What might the 2 tectonic plates be doing that they're having a lot of earthquakes? One? Yeah, sliding into each other. Very good.
It's also why there are tons of mountains up here. It's because, you know, everything they collapse or collide. And so the Mycenaeans falling apart, that leaves the door open for someone else to come in and conquer them. Yeah, that leaves the door open for someone else to come and conquer them. A group called the Dorians. They come from all the way up here, right off the bat. They come from up here, and they conquer all the Greeks. And they are not nice guys. They are not chill. They come in with iron weapons, which is new, and they basically try to keep everybody separate. Right? If you grow too much food, or if you grow more food than you need, they take it. And so no one grows more food than they need. So the population really slows down. There's no like trade between towns. A lot of the Greeks, right, they're not very nice. They're big slavers. A lot of the people living here kind of flee to these islands and flee over here. I'll come back in a hot minute. So this starts the Greek Dark Age. Lasts for about 300 years. And so, number 11 we covered. Number 11, the Mycenaeans died out because of wars and earthquakes. And then the Dorians invade Greece. And for 13, how long the Dorians are, yep.
300 years.
The Dorians lasted for about 300 years. Farmers grew very little. Yeah, what was 12? 12 was Dorians. Yep. Trojan. So still for 13, farmers grew very little.
Food.
They grew very little food because if you grew more, then the Dorians would just steal it from you. And keep going, Juice.
Many people stopped writing and keeping records.
Yeah, there was no trade between two people. The Dorians didn't like all the Greeks kind of teaming up, so there was no reason to write anything, no reason to trade, no reason to keep records. That's why it's called the Dark Age. We know very, very little about this period. And so, 13. The Dark Age lasted for 300 years. During this time, I think the word that the book says is that trade slowed down and farmers grew very little food. The last one is that people stopped making records or writing things. And so the Dorians last for 300 years, and they kind of hold on to this power until many of the Greeks revolt because they don't like the way the Dorians are treating them. And so the Dorians are kicked out of most of Greece. We're not going to talk about, they kind of remain up here, but that's a lesson for a different time. Actually, for Thursday. And so, with the Dorians mostly gone, all the Greeks who fled over here, they sail their way on back. This is also around the same time they call themselves Greeks, because they don't want to be Dorians. They suck. So they start calling themselves Greeks, or in their language, Hellenes. But now that all these people are coming back, kind of the opposite problem happens. We went from too little food to way too much food. There's no reason not to grow excess food. And so they begin to kind of trade between towns, and eventually they put their sailing knowledge to use and they begin to trade all around. And along this, kind of in this trek back, they also begin to adopt like written language and like an actual alphabet that everybody universally understands. So for number 16, why did it say that? Yep. 14 and 15. They introduced iron weapons. Oh, I didn't go over this. Yeah, they introduced iron weapons, and many of the people went to live on the islands, the Aegean Islands over here, or in Anatolia, right over here. What? The islands, and then Anatolia over here. Number 16. Yeah, Jason.
7 BC.
Yeah, by 750 is when the Dorians kind of collapsed. That's when their 300 years of spotlight went away. And the Greeks come back. 17. You got that? Yes, they call themselves Greeks or Hellenes. And you can find out how to spell Hellenes. Yeah. In the first paragraph, they spell Hellenes for you. Number 18, they had a surplus of food, and because of that, they began to increase their trade with
Other people.
Yeah, they increased their trade with other people. Started being between each other, and eventually it evolved into being across all like the Egyptians and everywhere else. And so now that they're trading, They're exploring a lot more. They kind of want to expand a little bit. They begin to create what are called colonies. Yeah, what's up? 19. Oh, sorry. They adopted a written language. They don't just adopt that. Yeah, so they begin to explore, they begin to sail a lot more, and they need to keep this money train going of all this trade. So they begin to form colonies. Do we know, does anyone know what a colony is? Want to explain it? Yeah.
It's where a group of the same religion splits off and lives somewhere else under the same rule.
Yeah, basically. It's like if we took just if we just took like a part of this class and then just sent you guys to a different class. Well, you're still part of this class, but you're just like over there. So they create colonies where they can do more trade from, make more food, and keep the money train going. And they begin to, these colonies begin to develop all down here, right? They begin to develop near Egypt, with the Phoenicians, near the Israelites, and up top in the Black Sea, up here, this is the Mediterranean, that's the Black Sea. All the way up here, that's near Russia, or what we think of as Russia. And to keep doing this trade, to keep this going, they can't just at this point, they were just exchanging things. Oh yeah, I'll give you a bunch of wheat if you give me a few bowl. But that doesn't work when you're doing a massive trade across an entire sea. So they begin to develop actual metal coins, real money that people believe in, not paper money, but actual coins that we can all agree on. Yeah. Yeah, we're right on number 20. Number 20, the Greeks developed colonies.
They had many colonies along the coast of the Mediterranean Sea and the Black Sea.
Yes, the Mediterranean and the Black Sea. Mediterranean's down here, that's where Egypt, where the Israelites are, on the Mediterranean, and then up on this very, very corner of this map is the Black Sea. I don't know why they call it the Black Sea. Number 22, trade increased when they began to use metal coins. They're going to use kind of a uniform currency. Yes, metal coins. You can even see some of those coins on 179. Oh, that's a really terrifying face. I want to look at that. And so, with this, they now have tons of food and are becoming very, very wealthy from all this trade. And so large cities begin to form. A lot of cities begin to form. You can see there a bunch of them at this point. We got Athens right here, there's Thebes, Sparta. Athens and Sparta will be important on Thursday. But a bunch of cities begin to form. They begin to get pretty wealthy. People begin to live better lives. They called them a polis, P-O-L-I-S. And all these cities would be built very similarly. At the very top, because it's all hills and mountains. The very highest point is a big castle, a big fort, called the Acropolis, literally from the word Akron, meaning top, and polis meaning city, top of city. Right below that was a bunch of temples where we can pray to our gods. And then right below that, what do you think the third thing third most important thing in their lives were. You got your protection, you got your gods, and then
Trading.
money. Big marketplace. They called it an agora. So 23 kind of gave this one away. What was the word for city? Give that. Polis. Polis. 24 at the center of town was a.
Fort on a hilltop called Acropolis.
Yes, a fort. A fort on top of the hill, Acropolis, and right below that, they also built temples to honor their gods. And then right outside of it was, Jason, an agora, A-G-O-R-A, where they would, and I mean, it wasn't just a marketplace. This is where they would like live their lives. A bunch of houses were here. If there was democracy, this is where they would vote. This is where they would meet people, you know, live their lives basically. In Athens, right here, they developed a really weird idea called democracy. They're the first ones to really do this. Was the idea that like maybe you should vote for your leaders, and we shouldn't just have kings whose sons rule and their sons rule based on nothing. And so they had a bunch of citizens who had a bunch of rights. They had the right to vote, and they voted for every single law that was passed. They had the right to own property, like own shops and businesses and houses. They had the right to defend themselves in court. If someone wronged you, you could ask, you know, a jury of the public to, hey, am I on the right here? And then, and they also had the right to like hold office. There were a bunch of like political, much like the way we have, there's a bunch of political offices that citizens could hold. And in exchange, they all had to be soldiers. They all had to serve as soldiers, very similar to the guys in the crowd. Whenever you turn 18, you get the right to vote, and you have to register for the draft. Very, very similar. It's almost the exact same idea. To be a citizen, you need to be born in the town, a man. Athens did not give citizenship to women or children. Not a slave, and not a foreigner. No women, no slaves, no foreigners, no children. None of that could vote. So, number 26, that's the real long one. Citizens had the right to blank, 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 and blank. Yes.
Vote on property, defend their social support, and hold office.
Yes, vote, own property, defend themselves, and hold political office. In exchange, yep. I could not hear you. 24, 25. Who wants to answer 24?
Fort built and Acropolis
Fort the Acropolis. You're giving her the answers to that. 26, they had the right to vote, own property. We good? Be defended by a jury, and hold court, and have one more. And hold office, have political power. And they had to serve as soldiers. We all good for 27? 27. Who would serve as a citizen? Yeah?
Men, because men is no women, no children.
No women, no children. Spoiler to 28. No foreigners.
See, it's just men and then
Yeah, men, no foreigners and no slaves. You couldn't be a citizen and a slave. Every single civilization here was big into slavery. Not great. Yeah, so number 27, men who were born in the town and not slaves. Number 28. For the last one, 28, blank and blank never had the right to be citizens. Jason?
Women and children.
Women and children never had the right to be citizens. They didn't like women very much, and children are irresponsible. We can't let them be in government. And by children, they meant people like under 20.
I thought it was the age of adult in Greece was 13.
Hey, Mike. It's somewhere.
In Sparta, once you were 13, you then left school and you went to start training with the military. So you were considered not officially an adult, because you're not until you hit that 18-year age, but you were now training with the adults to fight. But that was in Sparta. In other city-states, like Athens, for example, they had their males were getting an education, so they were continuing school after that time. So they're not going to be considered until they hit 18 or 20.
Yeah,
I
something like
can't remember what
that.
it is. So it just depended on the city-state. But Sparta, if you heard 13, it was probably for them, because that's when they went from, I'm learning a little bit of schooling and training for military, because they would train for military then too, to now I am just only training for the military.
And it's different. It's different in basically all of these cities. They all kind of do a different thing. The democracy your book talks about is pretty much just Athenian democracy. Sparta is very, very different. They are they don't like this whole democracy, giving the people power thing.
One of our vocabulary words, they were an oligarchy, where few wealthy people were the ones who had all the power.
Sparta actually gave a lot of power to women in their society. They were big on female rights. Also big on slavery.
This one ends at 1:17, so you had enough time to collect your papers, because I would like to still
Yep.
have them, and then put your books back.
Yep. These two first rows, want to put your books back, and then put your papers in the bin. Now, if I didn't hit play, I will cry. If I didn't hit record, this class is going to watch me cry.
Well, if you did it, then you'll have to repeat it 9.